Hi all, in this video we're going to see about gut-brain axis. So this question can be asked as a short essay or a part of your essay question. So gut-brain axis by definition is a bidirectional communication network between the central nervous system and the gastrointestinal tract. That means they communicate with each other. The gut and the brain, they communicate in a bidirectional way and thus have an influence on each other. So the key components of the gut-brain axis are the gut microbiota, which produce metabolites like short-chain fatty acids and serotonin that influence the brain function. We've got neural pathways that connect the gut and the brain, especially the vagus nerve, which is the main signaling pathway. We've got hormonal communication between the two also, like neuroendocrine molecules like serotonin and cortisol. And we also have the immune system also has a role to play in this gut brain axis, especially cytokines and inflammation. So this concept will be better understood by help of a diagram. So this is a schematic diagram showing the gut brain axis. So suppose this is the epithelium and this is the intestine showing the gut microbiota. So as I said before, the gut microbiota produces metabolites like short chain fatty acids that enter into the circulation, and then through the circulation it can reach the CNS and thereby influence the mood, cognition and emotions of the individual. Similarly, they can also regulate the release of certain neurotransmitters, which again can be released into the circulation, or it can exert its effect directly via the vagus nerve. And also the gut microbiota is involved in the metabolism of tryptophan, and thus it can produce metabolites like serotonin and kynurenine, which again can go into the circulation. Now we know that there are immune cells that are closely associated with the intestinal epithelium. So these immune cells are also affected by the gut microbiota and can produce cytokines, which again is released into the circulation and thus affects the immune system of the body. Now, all this time we were just talking about how the gut microbiota exerts its effect on the CNS. But the CNS also has an effect on the gut. So suppose we have a stress. The hypothalamus releases corticotropin releasing factor, which acts on the pituitary, which makes it release the adrenocorticotropic hormone. And this acts on the adrenals to produce cortisol, which travels via the circulation and reaches the intestinal epithelium and exerts its effects mainly to the enteric muscles, which affects its motility, the intestinal epithelium as well as the immune cells of the intestine. So that is how the brain, that is one method by which the brain can exert its effect on the gut. So this is called the HPA axis, that is hypothalamo pituitary adrenal axis. Now another main highway by which the CNS can exert its effect on the gut is of course our vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve also can affect our enteric nervous system, and thereby signals are always transmitted via this enteric nervous system, vagus nerve and CNS and vice versa. So this schematic diagram shows the different pathways by which the gut exerts its effect on the brain and the brain exerts its effect on the gut. So now let's see the role of the key components once again. So what was the role of gut microbiota? It produces metabolites like short chain fatty acids. These short chain fatty acids enter the bloodstream and influence cognition and emotion. They also produce neurotransmitters and they can signal via the vagus nerve or also enter the circulation. And similarly, they produce metabolites like serotonin which enter the circulation and thereby influence the brain function. What were the different neural pathways that were involved? Of course, it was a vagus nerve which serves as a communication highway between the gut and the brain. It influences the immune cell activity, maintains the integrity of the intestinal epithelial barrier, and also regulates the gut motility to ensure proper gastrointestinal function. And we also said the enteric nervous system is also involved. It operates autonomously but communicates with the brain via the vagus nerve. What were the role of hormones? We said in the stress mechanism, the hypothalamus releases CRF, which stimulates the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland releases ACTH, which stimulates the adrenal gland. And adrenal gland releases cortisol, which modulates the intestinal motility, affect the gut microbiota, and as well as have an influence on the immune cells. And what about the role of immune system? There is a lot of interaction with the immune cells. The gut microbiota stimulates the intestinal epithelial immune cells. The cytokines are released, which travel via the bloodstream or signal via the vagus nerve pathways, and thereby influence the brain function. So these are the basic components of the gut-brain axis in a very simple format. So why are we learning about this? Why is this so important? Because if there is any alteration in this axis, it can lead to a lot of diseases. So what are the different diseases related to the gut-brain axis? So as I said before, these metabolites like short chain fatty acids, they have an effect on the mood, cognition and emotion. So obviously it has got a role to play in mental health. So uh, if there is a disruption of this pathway, it can lead to mental health diseases like depression, anxiety, neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. It can also cause gastrointestinal disorders like irritable bowel syndrome and inflammatory bowel disease. And it can also cause metabolic disorders like obesity, metabolic syndrome, and insulin resistance. So, this was about gut brain axis in a nutshell. So, when a short note on gut brain axis is asked, you can write the definition. You can write the key components in which you can explain the role of gut microbiota, role of neural pathways, role of hormones, role of immune system, and also the diseases that are related to the gut brain axis, and finish off with this diagram. So in fact, the gut brain axis contain many more complex pathways and all, but at a first year MBBS level, I think this would be enough. So that's all. Thank you.